Yo, what's up, everyone? It is Tom and Scott, and today we're going to be talking about
Hello
Wayfinder. Hey, what's up, buddy?
Cool.
Yeah, Wayfinder, man. It is just recently come on my radar, Scott. It is, I know we've been playing a lot of Remnant 2, or you have, and it seems like it's in that same vein, kind of style of looter shooter, jump in, jump out, but with an interesting twist and some cool stuff. So let's just jump right into it.
It's like WildStar Reborn.
Totally. This game is giving me some serious WildStar vibes, which I was a big fan of WildStar. I liked it. Maybe that's some rose-tinted glasses now that the game is shut down. Kind of WoW vibes too. I don't know. What do you think when you saw the initial trailers and some of the info on it? What did you think of the graphics, and does that appeal to you?
I mean, it's a little...
So compared to like Remnant, I mean, I know Remnant's a little grittier.
So let's say, as I've aged gracefully here, the cartoony vibe doesn't speak to me as much. That being said,
interesting.
It's not too cartoony. It's not silly or ridiculous. It's definitely animated, but I mean, that's not a game changer for me. What matters to me now and in this era of gaming, I guess, the actual substance of the game. So yeah, like you said, I've been into Remnant. I think it's just the perfect combination of game right now, just coming together. So if I can experience that same type of gaming, I guess, vibe, then I'm already interested off the bat.
Yeah, so it's similar to Remnant in that it's sort of a jump in, jump out style. Pick up, put down. You have some character progression, some MMO features, which we're going to get into, without having that insane investment of an MMO, right? And so, and I know that seems kind of where you're gravitating towards with your gaming free time, right?
Yeah, it doesn't feel as it doesn't lean me into the mindset of this being a chore. It makes me want to game because I just know that I can get in, progress, have the fun without having to sink a ridiculous amount of hours into it, or that I need to keep playing to keep up, anything like that. It's just grindy enough to be interesting and fun without wearing you out.
Another interesting thing about Wayfinder that obviously caught my attention as well is that Airship Games, I believe, is the main developer, but Digital Extremes, the makers of Warframe, are heavily involved in the, I don't want to say the full development, but maybe consulting or just adding direction to the game. I'm obviously a big Warframe fan, and I like this. And the reason why is I would say Warframe's in the vein of this style of game, you know, kind of a dungeon crawler.
It is.
You get in, you get loot, you build weapons, you progress your character, you get new Warframes. And so since I like that, I believe they're going to kind of mimic that sort of model, right? You go into dungeons, you do the events, you collect the resources, and then you can craft your heroes, you know, is what I'm assuming is going to happen in Wayfinder, craft your weapons. And so I'm a fan of that style. I know we have quite a few hours into Warframe.
We do.
Is that sort of free to play, pay for convenience if you want a frame faster? Is that appealing to you, or what was your take on the monetization in Warframe?
If I'm being honest, I think I'm indifferent towards it, and I think I am that way because the monetization isn't game breaking. Pay for convenience, essentially. You want that frame sooner, but you need to wait for those materials, or when you craft it, you have to let it sit and
like
bake
72
for like
hours.
Yeah, or
you know, it's a long time.
Yeah, so it definitely plays on people's need to get that fix immediately, right? So if you're patient and you go at it easy, like, the experience is what you make it at that point. But if you're you have that mindset of grind, get it, then you're gonna fall into that trap of having to put some money out.
It did feel rewarding in Warframe to almost wait the full like 72 hours, kind of a throwback to like, oh, this is that delayed gratification. I'm putting in the time, I'm putting in the work.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm like a busy gamer dad. Like, I don't have to wait. And
I think Warframe,
put in some cash.
I think Warframe it's good. The system's good. The way the game functions, I think, is successful. Maybe just from my perspective, it was slightly more complicated than I wanted it to be for the amount of time that I could put into it.
Yes.
So you dial that back a little bit. I think you now have a successful formula to work with.
I think this will be a little bit more of like a casual Warframe, maybe, is what you're alluding to.
Yeah. When I look at a game, like, I'll talk about Remnant because it's fresh on the mind, and
for sure,
I've really been enjoying it. To me, it is the perfect mix of getting the same feeling that you would from like Destiny or Diablo or Warframe, but in a smaller package that is not overwhelming. It's just complicated enough to make you want to keep playing, and it's just simple enough to not make you feel overwhelmed. And the power ascension is not I don't think it's something that feels grindy or off-putting. It is in and of itself very enjoyable.
Yeah, and I don't mind the pay for convenience stuff in a game like this in Wayfinder or Warframe when there's no real meaningful PvP, so you can't get ahead. There's no world first races for like raids. There's no pay to win element to it. It's just about your own enjoyment and your progression, how fast or slow you want to go. So I think I'm glad Digital Extremes are involved. I think that's a positive sign for me. The other thing we like, and the last feature we'll talk on before we get into the concerns, is there seems to be a lot of MMO light features that are going on here, and I'm hesitant. Well, of course, they've called it an MMO from what I've seen. Now, they haven't said MMORPG, which I think is a big distinction. You are not creating your own character with a character customizer. You're not doing quests in the traditional style of leveling up from like 1 to 50 or something like that. So I think it is good to differentiate. This isn't an MMORPG, but it does have some shared space areas with other players. It does have what it looks like small open world areas, not like a full map of open things, but some things where you can go in with a small group, kill a world boss, right? And then of course it has your instance dungeons, and probably the biggest one for MMO players is player housing. So a place to create your home away from home in-game kind of a thing. So I know we've kind of talked about this before, but this seems like a little bit of an evolution of the MMORPG. They've pulled back a little, but they still have some familiar features. That's a good thing in my book.
Yeah, I think accessibility is great, and if we'll still kind of keep that in line with what you're saying, is something like Ashes, something like Valheim, like survival, different flavors of MMO that have a place for everybody, that isn't just you start as a noob, you level up, you have raids and dungeons and gear power to go forward. It enables the game to attract different types of gamers that still want that MMO experience, but in a different form, or in a way that's satisfying and gratifying to them and makes them feel like they're contributing.
Yeah, totally. And I'm not a huge, I like looter shooters, but I think adding these MMO elements on there for me is going to be a nice touch. And so that's why I'm kind of more interested to try this out than maybe some other looter shooters, that have come out recently. So we like that stuff, but as always, there's a few concerns, that we have with the game. I would say my biggest one, and you know this from knowing me for a long time in the games I like to play, I'm big on character creation, making my own character in a game. I don't really like to play hero shooters for that reason. I don't want to be another character.
I need a beard. You need your beard.
The beard character creation options have to be on point. That's big for me. But anyway, for you, that's not that big of a deal, right?
No, okay. It's not. I mean, it's a plus, I think, if you can make your own. But I like to, I've said many times before, I like to project myself into the game, whatever character, if I can relate, if I can identify, whatever, as long as I feel a connection to that avatar, it works for me. I don't care.
Like in Remnant, your character looks insanely close
exactly like
to what you look like in real life. I mean, that's just so nice cool touch, though, right? I mean, I don't know.
It's a nice touch. Like I said, it's a plus, but it's not necessary in my book.
Okay. All right. I don't know. That's a thing for
me.
But
I get why you would want it. I get it.
Yeah. And I guess the next thing is, for me, maybe it isn't MMORPG enough. At the heart of it, I'm an MMORPG player. I really want them to go heavy into those features, and I hope they do it, but I'm not sure they will. And if they don't, for example, if I can't create my own character, is it going to really grab me for the long term? But maybe that's not what they're going for.
I don't think the market's there for that strict MMO anymore. I just don't. Gamers' brains and their attention span is just not there anymore. There's too much other content that they want to experience. So the way that MMOs are going to thrive is if they have elements, in my opinion, elements of each game that are in there so they can attract a wider demographic. I don't think people like you, I'm not going to say don't exist anymore. I just think it's being phased out a little bit. There's a more of a eclectic, I guess, hive mind being formed, that we want to experience many other styles of games within one game.
Gotta have a question.
Yeah.
Do you prefer duvets or quilts?
Quilts. They can be custom.
Saying you should be careful
cozy.
making blanket statements like that.
Oh man.
That
Wow.
all MMO players don't want to. I think the millions of registered accounts on Ashes of Creation may disagree with you.
Yeah, but Ashes has elements of different games.
Yes, but it is a very hardcore.
It is
MMO
very,
game,
I'm saying
possibly.
like your standard theme park, make a character,
Yeah.
level up, do dungeons, do raid, PvP, and that's kind of it. It's always that carrot on the stick.
No,
Now,
where
have to
you
get
are
that.
right, and I'll agree with you, is there's leveling in MMOs is a big problem because it creates this wide gap between new players and veteran players that must be overcome. And so I think games like this, maybe games that are introducing more horizontal progression, are fixing that issue, right? You can still quest without having to level 1 to 50. You don't have to have that separation. So I think these more survival MMO hybrids, and we're going to talk about some soon coming up in the channel, are going to be a evolution or maybe a side genre of the MMO that it starts to take. So that'll be cool. The last thing I'll touch on real quick is Warframe is a super in-depth, complicated game. But why did we keep going back to it?
The movement was awesome.
The movement, the combat was just so fun. Is Wayfinder gonna have that combat that is satisfying? Because just like in Remnant, just like in Destiny, those games have super smooth, good combat. So that is kind of a concern for me. The combat looks a little slow, maybe. Maybe I just need to be able to test it myself to know, but
you know,
combat,
there was a game that was like this that came out that I actually tried maybe a couple of years ago now. It was called Godfall.
Okay.
And it was it had frames like Warframe. It was very similar to Warframe. It just lacked the substance too. So it's like you have a lot of these games coming out that are visually cool. The core loop, I mean, I'm thinking Anthem, I'm thinking Outriders, like they're not loops, sorry. The core gameplay is fun. It looks good. It's got a great foundation, but then you get to substance and they just lack it all. So when I see a game like Wayfinder, that's my concern that comes up. Like, okay, I've seen this take before. That's why it was such a breath of fresh air to see how well Remnant played and doing among fans. Like they did it right. This is something to take note of.
The concerns are minimal. This game seems worth checking out to me.
It's definitely worth it.
If it can marry the looter shooter with MMO kind of elements, I'm on board with that. Cool aesthetic. Hopefully the combat's good. Monetization looks great. The game will launch in early access on August 15th. And when it launches, it's going to have Season 1, which is their version of kind of a battle pass. But the really cool thing about the Wayfinder Battle Pass is once you purchase it, you're going to have it forever. You won't lose it when the season ends. And if a new season starts, you can purchase that one. And then you can go back and forth however you want to progress. There's no time gating. And you can totally go at your own pace.
No FOMO.
Yeah, 100%. No FOMO. And it's a really good feature. Let us know in the comments. Are you on this Remnant kick and you looking for more games like this to jump into? Are you big Warframe fans that has you excited for Wayfinder? I think a lot of people are going to be excited at least to try this out and give this game a shot. I know we are. But anyway, guys, give us a like, subscribe, and check out the link to the Discord below if you want to jump in and talk games. And see you guys later.